exactly. I'm taking you up round the Maudeverse, taking you up, woo, round the Maudeverse, taking you on a trip to the Maude stars for you and you and you. Wow. I don't know, is it possible for his TV show, for a podcast to have 3 theme tunes? Is that excessive?
It depends if you alternate them. If it does 3 every week, then yeah.
But it seems that it's a slippery slope. We may end up with the podcast made up entirely of theme tunes.
Possibly.
All right, should I do the real second theme tune, though?
Yes.
Yeah! Maude! It's a Maude Flan cast. Street men and boosty villain. A spooky mom, religious loving and sassy woman from Springfield town. Probably not a pharmacist. Knock her down of Skittles. Spoiler, go next door voice 4K. Possibly not thinking of the children. Woo, Maudecast. There you go.
Woo. I liked it.
I'm getting into it now. Now that we've had 7 pops at it, I'm starting to really get into the nooks and crannies of that tune.
Maude 7.
Maude 7. Who would have believed there would be a Maude 7?
Not me.
I spoke to someone today and I said, I'm recording the Maudecast today. He goes, oh, this the second one, because we only posted the first one really on Facebook and everything. I'm like, no, the 7th one. He couldn't believe that there could possibly be seven chunks of goodness about Maud Flanders. But you know what? We're only just starting, brother. Biological brother. We're only just starting.
It's going to go way past 50 if we're going to do every appearance.
I'm up for it. You know what? We've even got a secret plan to pad out with even more episodes that I'm not even going to talk about yet, but that's on the horizon. So what we got today? What we're looking at in today's episode?
Today's episode is Homer the Heretic. And she doesn't speak at all in this. She's just literally in the background a couple of times.
Well, there's going to be more than one thing to say about whether she may not speak, but does she make a noise? That's going to be the question. That's going to be the big question on everyone's lips, nose, mouth, eyes, and ears and hands in this episode. But I want to give you big props, like a radio DJ, for putting that list together, the new updated list of Maude's appearances, which now goes on for pages and pages.
I do have I use the Simpsons wiki, the fandom one, which is it's fine on my phone. It's just when I use it on my laptop, though, it just shuts everything down.
Fandom, but, just shutting things down from since 2012.
So it's not been officially done, this list. So I got the whole list together, did everything. I thought, right, that's it now. And then I literally just saw a screenshot from a Halloween episode of Kirk talking about the spaghetti dinners. Milhouse having 2 spaghetti dinners, and she's in the background, and it's not on our list. Wow. So I don't know what to do about that.
The thing is, Nathan, just like when Samuel Johnson wrote his dictionary, and then he goes at the end and he opens it up, and he's forgotten the word sausage. You know, it's just like that. You're never going to get every single episode. We're gonna look for them all exhaustively. And then you're going to get to your 100th birthday, and some dodgy effer is going to show you a clip that you'd missed of Maude probably doing a backflip. Anyway, our sponsors are, as we know, Vivacious from RuPaul's Drag Race Season 6. Have we heard anything from them recently?
Yeah.
Really?
Constantly.
Are you joking?
No.
Come on then,
Almost
tell us something
about me.
Oh, okay. Any gems from the Vivacious? Because what Vive did say is that we should make notes, and I took that heavily on board, and my Maude notes are now 16 pages long for this episode.
Nice.
But nothing of note.
No, I mentioned that we'd mentioned her and the advice that she gave us, and she said, what advice was that?
Vivacious is so full of advice that she doesn't even remember giving it out, but I remember. I'm going to take it to heart. Also sponsored by Cerebus the Aardvark, unofficially, and Jack, rest in peace, Derrida, from the Maude Casting Corporation. Now, I'm going to throw you a Derrida quote, and I want you to recontextualize it as he would have wanted you to in the eyes, ears, nose, mouth, hands of Maude.
What cannot be said above all must not be silenced, but written.
Now, you have chosen, I do want to warn you that I did tell you I would give you these quotes in advance, should you so desire, but you turned that down. Contextualize away.
I have. She's quiet in this episode, but as we've discussed, we assume that she's keeping a diary. So anything that Maude has to truly say is written down, and anything that she says out loud is folly.
Well, that's beautiful, and it's beautifully put, and it does bring us on as my segue detector has gone beep, 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 beep through the roof. We did locate in the dusty corners of the Maude Flanders Internet Museum database, theme park, hotcake restaurant, fishery, etc. We found a copy of Maude's diary, didn't we?
We did.
It was tightly bound in twine, and it said, "Do not read." But it's been a while since Maude left this earthly cartoon planet. How do you feel about reading us a page from Maude's diary?
Yeah.
Really?
I'd do that.
I would love to hear what. Now, listeners, this goes no further than this podcast, okay? Nathan, please read us just a random page from any day in Maude's diary.
So this is her adult diary, and this page just says,
"Today, I had a confrontation with Todd, my youngest / oldest son. He told me that he didn't want any star vegetables. This hit me hard, and I'm gonna have to take some time to think about my parenting skills. And Ned's been great since the left Oriole opened. He's really found his footing. And I think that Helen Lovejoy is having an affair."
That's it.
Wow.
That's it.
You said it just says that. It just says revelation after revelation. That's all it says. My goodness, who would have thought that we would have ever got a peek inside Maude's mind? That sounds like, I don't want to read too much into it, but that sounds like almost the episode that we watched last week where her son was cussing at the table. Do you think that's what she was referring to?
I think so, unless it happened several times. Seemed like a one-off.
It does seem that Todd probably learned his lesson after that, but was it Todd? It was Todd, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that. That was beautiful.
So I do have a point to make about some. This is sort of like a week too late, but
Oh, good.
a week, 6 or 7 weeks early. Rod, I got a screenshot from when I was doing the Flaming Moe's stuff, and I wanted screenshots of Maude in Moe's Tavern. One of the only times is when he changes to Uncle Moe's family feedback, and Rod is there celebrating his 10th birthday.
Ah.
So Rod must have been 9 the whole time until season 7, and Todd is 10.
Okay. Well, that's interesting because the Simpsons kids never age. They never have any birthdays. Do they have birthdays?
Lisa, it's your birthday.
Oh, yeah, that's... Of course.
Lisa. And Magaggy. It's not Magaggy's birthday.
All right. I get you. But they never say the number, right?
Yes, several. Yeah. I think Lisa's turned 8 twice.
Okay. Now, if I was to ask somebody to check that, I might ask maybe a stat man. And our uncle's been pestering me all week. He's got a lot of things he wants to get off his chest. Is it okay if I play you one of his multiple voice messages?
Yes.
So this is the stat man. I just want to give you a bit of context. He seems to think that the Maude cast is called Maude Cats, and he's trying to get his head around what we actually talk about on the show. Now, he's not really very interested because he's all about stats. But anyway, if he makes any references to cats or anything, that might be where he's coming from. He's somewhat confused. Anyway, Beep. Hey there, Nathan and the other boy. I've been meow. Meow. I've been practicing all week to see if I can get on your show all about the meows. Yeah, the meows cast. Nephews and nieces. I'm not interested in content. You know that. I'm only Statman. You hell of a beaten Statman coming at you. And you know first stat I'm going to drop in your big dirty face? 903 views, 903. That's very close to that first big landmark on the YouTubes of 1K. Oh, I see it on the horizon coming closer. Before you know it, you're going to be eligible to put adverts on this. And then that's where the big money and cash start coming in left, right, and center. However, we all know it's diminishing returns, so get it while you can, because each successive episode is almost certain to garner fewer and fewer views. So just have a fun of this high life when you can, like all the Waz Dutch. You Waz Dutch, I'm Waz Dutch. Now, you know what I say, no thumbs down. I'm hating on the thumbs down, but I got hold of Organ Scrub, and I'm ashamed to say he's a Dutchman also, shame. But I take Organ Scrub under my wing, and now I got a stat mentor. But I tell you what, the good thumbs down is when you thumbs down a spam. I saw a spam on one of your videos. Some man or woman bot with a spam, and I pressed the thumbs down. You got multiple thumbs down. Thumbs down to spam, that's what I say. 1K on the horizon. Beep. So the Statman, very excited, seems to have taken a young ruffian off the internet pages on board. And yeah, we're approaching that 1K horizon. We're simply 98 views away from that 1K horizon. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, it's special. It's a very special time to be alive.
Certainly is.
Yeah, she's getting not worse, less frequently visited every week, but there's still time for a resurgence of popularity.
It's early days.
27.
Yes, it's early days, but we're not in it for the numbers. We're in it for the cash, as you know. And as soon as we can monetize this thing, we'll probably ditch the whole podcast thing altogether if we could just get on flogging T-shirts on the Ashton Market or whatever. But yeah. Here's where we got a few minutes before we jump into content. Got a couple of minutes left to visit the Mauditorium. And so give us a number between 1 and 100, and we'll throw you a fact and see if you can bat it out of the park.
23.
Let me scroll down here. 23. What do we have? What do we have here at number 23 for you? I'll be with you just in a moment, love. 23. You said a few weeks ago that Maude was a, quote, reflective person, often lost in her own thoughts. Like to back this up?
Yeah. That was about the golf game, wasn't it? When she was stood reflecting and being in her own thoughts.
I think it was when you described her lining up and waiting for the money. But that's also false.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, I think those two examples are perfect for that situation. But yeah, she's always kind of stood in her own thoughts. And if she stood thinking about nothing, this is going to be a very short podcast.
Well, what is on her mind a lot of the time?
Boring stuff. I think like, oh, do we need any more bread? Just that repeated.
Just on that endless loop with a pause in between. Well, I think that answers that question for anyone at home.
She's trapped in some kind of mental bread-getting Groundhog Day in her head. She's always lost in her own thought, but it's always relevant to the context of the situation. I think she's always thinking about the present or bread.
That pretty much, I mean, that's a comprehensive view. If you're not thinking about the things that are currently happening to you or bread, not a lot more out there. It covers a big portion. Jesus. Yeah, but do you think she thinks a lot about Jesus?
Yeah. I think she's quite into. I don't think that's in any way a sham. I think she is a religious goofball.
Just a crazy old wacky religious goofball. We got one more Got one more before we jump into content. Our government-regulated banter time is slowly being shut down.
Nice.
Give me one more. And actually, let me stop you there because it doesn't go to 100 anymore. It now goes to 114.
4.
4. Oh, early days of the Mauditorium. Here's a quote from Nathan O'Leary, circa 2011. If Shakespeare had put Maud Flanders in The Tempest, I wouldn't be having these problems. Response?
Yeah.
Found this on your internet page from 8 years ago.
Yeah, I was at university writing an essay about The Tempest, and I just didn't care about it. Just wasn't bothered. It's all right. It's pretty good. I enjoy reading The Tempest, but that's where it ends. I don't care about what people were thinking about it or the context. If Maud Flanders had been in The Tempest, then I would have enjoyed writing the essay. But I did well on it, so
that's good. I think if Maud had found herself on that island, because The Tempest is a good story. I think it's all magical and mystical, isn't it? It's like Lost, basically.
Yeah,
a bit
that's why I like. That's why I like it, and that's yeah, it's great. It's a Lost prequel 400 years prior.
It is, and I think if Maud had been on that island, she would have only improved the story.
Yes, red thoughts and wind chimes. And she would have taken the mutant under her wing. I want to say Caliban.
I believe that is correct. She would have taken little Caliban under her wing, and probably it would have turned out better for everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
Shall we go into the content of today's show?
Yes, 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 yes.
As you mentioned earlier, we have a doozy for you. Homer the Heretic. Maude appears in 6 clips, doesn't say a single word, and to all intents and purposes adds nothing to the plot. But that's what they think. That's what they want us to think. That's not what we think, is it, Nathan O'Leary?
No, and I do want to talk about one more thing before we start the clips, but it's about episode. One of the ones we've missed now, or not missed, but one of the ones she's not appeared in since the last one before Homer the Heretic, was the streetcar named Marge episode, in which the whole sort of plot between Homer and Marge is that he doesn't care about it and he gets dragged. In the end, he watches it and he thinks it's great and it's all redeemed. And yeah, that's kind of the story, is that Marge is annoyed that Homer has no interest and doesn't care and doesn't want to watch the play and stuff. Maude doesn't watch it. And Ned's the other lead.
Ned is the main character, isn't he? What's he played by?
Brando, isn't it?
The guy's played by Marlon Brando in the original. That's got another great song in it, isn't it? That's got A Stranger's Just a Friend You Haven't Met. Right? Love that one. But Maude doesn't turn up for any of the performances, as far as we know.
No, she isn't in the audience at all. She's not bothered. She doesn't go and watch the play. My thinking is that it's a bit too racy for her.
It is racy, and this is kind of what I want to get into a little bit in this episode, because this doubles down on the churchiness, doesn't it? This is as churchy as it gets. And the concept, are you familiar with the concept of Flanderization?
No.
It's from TV Tropes, popped up. I'll bring it up in the episode, but this is a prime case of Flanderization. It's probably where the actual term came from. Anyway, clip one. They're in a place which I later found out was the church. The doors are frozen shut. We see Maude just for a second hugging herself, and we see Rod and Todd appearing to hug Maude also for warmth. That's all I got. That's all I could get out of that 1 second clip.
The only thing I have to say about it is that she's cold.
They're all cold. But here's one thing I did. If I was going to bring up the other week, she was sat in the car in the freezing cold while Ned was dressed up in all the clothes he had, whereas Maude was sat on the inside. However, they could have had the heater on, couldn't they? I guess could have had the engine on.
Yeah.
All right, moving swiftly on. They did have the candle. moving swiftly on. That's the shortest clip we've done so far, but you know, it's all we do long and short here. We don't hold no grudges. If the clip's short, we'll give it its time in the sun. Clip 2. Maude, still in the locked-in church, dutifully sat in her pew. Reverend Lovejoy droning on. They're all kind of like, they've had enough of this now. She turns anxiously at the door, and she's watching groundskeeper Willie, who for some reason has a blowtorch with him and is attempting to unfreeze the door.
Yep. That's what happened.
That is what happened. And I guess the only thing I had to ask about this is, why does Willie have a blowtorch with him in church?
I think it's just because he's the groundskeeper, so I think it's because he's I imagine it's likely that he's got his tractor out there with all of his tools in it, but I don't know why he's got it specifically on him, because he can't get out to the tractor to maybe it was the church's blowtorch.
It's possible. And also, just for basic fire safety regulations, there would be another door somewhere. So I don't know. Maybe
there's several doors, but there's also a lot of glass windows that they could smash. But there wasn't a fire, was there? Everybody was just cold.
Sure.
Maude's just getting on with it. She's not front and centre making a scene. She's just, again, she's very, very reactive. She's just, oh well, this is what's happening. I guess I'll wait it out.
Oh well, these events are unfolding in front of me. I should just continue to sit here and let them unfold without interjecting myself into them in any way. There's nothing Maude can do here. That's almost her slogan. I know Lovejoy said she had no catchphrases, but if she were to have one, maybe it could be, there's nothing Maude can do here.
Yeah, that basically sums up, I'd say, about 60% of her appearances. She's a passive character. She's not an active, responsive character. Unless it comes to something she's passionate about, which is usually other people enjoying themselves.
I guess so. So Maude opens the door. Maude looks towards the door to see Willie trying to blast it with his blowtorch. And we go to clip 3, still in the church. And we, you know, for those of us only watching the clips, we find out that Homer's decided not to go, which I guess is the heretic part of it. Although, you know, a lot of people don't go to church, but did he? Maybe he said some other stuff, I don't know. But anyway, he's decided not to go. Willie gets the doors open, and Maude's like staring intently at these now. Everyone's leaning in. They can see the doors are just about to be open, and they've been in there for, maybe upwards of 30 minutes or whatever. So the doors open, the icy cold snow blasts in, and they all start moving towards the door. Maude's nowhere to be seen. Maude does not appear in that view of the church, nor does Ned or Rod or Todd. Now I counted this. They're about 3 rows from the back, so they got a good vantage point right on the edge. Nowhere to be seen. What's going on, Nathan?
I would say the Christian thing to do, and I think Reverend Lovejoy mentions this, and he says, like, please Christians, don't push.
He does say that.
It's a very Flanders response to let everybody else go first.
So they somehow moved further away from the door, or maybe they rolled underneath the pews so as to get out of everybody's way. Okay, kids, just crouch down under the pews so that everybody else can get out first. I imagine Flanders would do that even in a fire, not just in this far less dangerous situation.
Well, yeah, and Flanders does have a lot of... Flanders is in a fire later in this episode.
And does he let everyone go first?
No, he saves Homer's life.
Okay. Actually, yeah, that does answer a bit of my question as to why in the last clip they're standing in front of some charred curtains. Because I remember this episode, but I don't remember the details. It's a long time since I've seen the actual episode. So anyway, they're all set charging for the door, and Lovejoy's saying, "Don't run, Christians," which is a very Christian thing to do. Bart, however, decides that he's going to use people's shoulders and heads to run over the top of the crowd towards the door. But charming Bart, as he's going by, he's like, "Hey, coming through, how you doing? How you doing, baby? Nice hat." In the classic Bart charm. And he passes by those distinctive big round eyeballs with the eyelashes coming off them. and the big gingerish, I don't know, for lack of a better word, hairstyle. But it doesn't seem like Bart actually jumps on Maude's shoulders or head.
No, he doesn't. He avoids her, which is nice of him. But now she's given up on this whole, let everybody else go first thing. But you don't see Ned or the kids. She's just going on her own. She's getting out of there. She doesn't care.
She's bolting for the door, and it's every flan for himself.
I would say this teaches us, and again, this will come up a lot in the future, but on a surface level, she loves Ned, Rod, and Todd. She loves her life. But in those gut instinct, deep moments, she doesn't care about any of them. She's in it for herself. It's every Maude for herself when it comes to, at the end of the day. That's how she is. So she loves her family, but if the shit hits the fan, she's getting out of there.
She loves the family, but she loves Maude more.
Yes.
Now, you could cut her a bit of slack, because it is entirely possible that she's holding the hands of Rod and Todd and dragging them with her. Because my question would be...
I don't think that's the case, because Rod's quite tall.
You may just have seen his hair just bobbing up at eye level. Here's what's interesting. No one else in that scene is a character I recognise. Maude is the only character in the whole of that scene that Bart jumps on top of all their shoulders that was recognisable to me. And I just wonder why would they choose to only animate Maude and a bunch of just random characters? Yeah,
that is fascinating.
It's fascinating. It's a truly fascinating nugget.
It is. She she's associated heavily with the church, so in random crowd scenes she isn't the first person you think of, but in terms of female characters at the church, I think she is top of the list. Because Helen isn't as godly.
Yeah. And Helen, as the priest's wife, she'd probably right at the front of the church, sat with on the pews, and she'd probably stay with Lovejoy. They've probably got a basement with her. In fact, they live there. They're in no rush to leave. Probably have all their jumpers in the back.
They don't live at the church. They live at home with their daughter Jessica, and but I like to imagine that Helen's in the back somewhere in a small room with a heated radiator, just away from everybody else.
I wouldn't put it past her. Maybe she's the anti-Maude.
She is in a way.
She is in a very real way, just as Edna and Marge are. Every anti-Maude reflects a facet of the true Maude.
Don't forget Selma.
Tell me about Selma. How is Selma the anti-Maude?
I just picked a random name, but there's a new segment. Selma smokes. Selma's rude. Selma's loveless, and she has boofy hair.
Maude is none of those things. She's the anti-Selma in many ways. So who is the anti-Maude is a very good segment that we will be using to pad out our runtime over the next little while. However, moving on, dashing through the snow, as it were, what would Maude have made had Todd continued his rambunctious and naughty streak and followed Bart across the shoulders of the parishioners?
I think she would have grabbed for him. But I think, again, it would have been...
Come here, Todd!
Yeah, because, again, she was the first one to shout at him. But I think it would be a conversation for later. She doesn't like a public display. So I think she would save it for when they got home. And then he would be no none for ice milk for a week.
No Bible stories. He would be for it. In short, he would be for it. For the high jump, I imagine. Yes. Clip 4. Ned arrives at Homer's door with the family. Hey, neighbor, I've heard about your heresy. Now, heresy, just to explain for people who don't know, heresy is going against the teaching of the church, unlike blasphemy, which is going against the word of God. So Homer hasn't actually done anything bad. to God, but he has gone against the church by not turning up. Homer's done very many bad things against God, I'm sure, in the past. But in this specific instance, him just not going to church. However, Neddy turns up. We've made it our mission to win you back to our flock. And Ned is armed with an acoustic guitar. And who's stood in front of him? Rod and Todd. And who stood next to him? And they start to sing. The whole family start to sing. God said to Noah, we're going to build an arky. It's a great song. Oh, but, you know, on the clip that I got, the person who sent me the clip was making laughing and snorting noises over the entire sound as I'm pressing the headphones close to my ears to see if I can pick out Roswell's voice in there and thus prove my biological brother wrong once again for the third show in a row in a segment called Nathan Tries to Persuade Me That Maude Isn't Singing. They're singing, and I can't tell, Nathan, so, you know, the jury is out. Is Maude singing?
No, it isn't. But it's getting ridiculous now that almost every time she's pops up, she is singing in some way, including the next clips with the monorail.
Now, you picked out the monorail already. You knew about this one, but be honest, had you remembered the Arky song?
No, I had completely forgotten about this one.
But you are claiming that you can't pick out Maude's voice in that melange. Now, I think it's tricky because I think her singing voice is going to be very similar to the boys.
My only logical thought of this is, if they haven't given her a line in the episode, they aren't going to get her to come in to sing back up.
But you're using real word logic, not Simpsons logic.
In the world of Springfield, I still like the idea that she's having some kind of secret arc or relationship with learning to sing herself and not lip syncing. Because eventually she'll get to the point where she sings her own lines. But as of now, she seems so scared that she doesn't even sing along to things. She just mouths.
I like your theory there. That's a very good theory, because what you're trying to claim is now, even though she repeatedly, in almost every episode, is singing, and you earlier claimed famously that she only ever sang two things, but you're trying to claim that she's right now just lip syncing. At first you said it was to give the boys, to bring the boys out and give them a bit of confidence, and now you're saying it's because she has a pathological terror of public singing performances. And we're going to see this secret arc blossom over the next several seasons until eventually we see Maude sing loud and proud.
Yeah, and she sings twice, and the first time is Go Tell It. Well, the first time in chronological Simpsons time is Go Tell It on the Mountain, because that's a flashback to Rod and Todd. They're quite young. So something happened between Go Tell It on the Mountain and I Got You, Babe. In those, 5 Simpsons years between Rod and Todd being the ages of 5 and 6, and 9 and 10, whatever. Something happened to her.
Now that's certainly a theory that we want to get our teeth into a little bit more.
Yeah, we won't get till that episode. That episode is season 29.
Oh, good Lord.
So we won't be there for a while yet.
Now, there are 2 ways that this might pop up. One in our spectral speculations, but we know that's not real. But in the other one, maybe in her diary as we read more, who knows, maybe she drops some hints in there. Now, that's canon. That's real. Whatever is said in that diary, that's absolutely watertight canon. And there's nobody at Disney who can take that away from us.
Yeah, that's one way of retconning everything to adapt to what we're pushing. I like it. But it is real. It is a real diary that we found, so it's just all going to be coincidence.
It's all canon.
Yeah.
So here's...
No Nadine of Flanders.
And so, whether or not Maude was singing, we're going to have to move on. We have to move on. The jury's still out. So they track Homer down to work, and they harass him with singing over the phone. And we hear them singing in the background. Again, hard to tell if Maude's involved. And then they track him and follow him home, follow him on his way back home. And they're driving next to him in the car. And Maude has the freakiest Donald Duck face I think I've ever seen. And Rod and Todd have this wacky, gleeful look, and they're shouting, "Get those animals out on the Arky Arky!" And it's full-on cult. They're full-on cult. And this is Flanderization. So Flanderization is the trope when a character starts off being somewhat one-dimensional, or not having a lot about them, or maybe having several things about them, but little by little, one trait just keeps getting doubled down on until eventually it is the entire character. And what happened with Ned, except especially in these seasons, is that he just became a churchy do-gooder, right? And there was nothing else about him. And so this became an idea of Flanderization. So anytime you see a character who becomes like that, then this is what it is. So
yeah, it's outside of a comedy. It works in this kind of context, but it's sort of just, it's the opposite of good writing, isn't it? It's like the opposite of character development.
Yeah, and it's like, especially in comedy, I imagine it's very tempting to do, because you get something that's funny and then you just do more of it, just like a little kid who realizes that making fart noises is funny, so you just do farts all the time. Actually, there's that SpongeBob episode, isn't it, where he keeps ripping his pants. And Big Larry came around and SpongeBob just keeps ripping his pants all the time, and it's like diminishing returns on the pants ripping hilarity. But this is when it happens to an entire character. And,
no, I remember that. I thought you were going to say it was just like his vocabulary, but yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that before. I can't think of any examples on other TV shows. Maybe like The Office with characters like Creed, where they started out kind of normal and in the background, and then by the end, Creed was just the most manic kind of character.
They really played up that he was super mysterious and kept having all these little things going on, and I think that's a bit of a trope. And TV tropes is awesome, right? So you can go off down. They've got a name for everything. So there's all these kind of like splinters of this Flanderization when a character is developed in a certain way, blah blah blah. But my question was, do you think that Maude became part of Flanderization, or was she not given that much TLC? Did they not develop her enough to even become Flanderized?
No, I think she kind of, because again, Flanders was around in season 1 and a bit of season 2 before Maude showed up. And like I said at the beginning, he isn't very religious. Like the first episode, the Christmas special, you see Ned and Todd. It's just sort of about them being, better, having a better life. Sort of similar to the to the Leftorium episode. He was just there at first to show that Homer's life was not as good, and the religious stuff didn't come in till after Maude. Because Maude comes in the golf game, which isn't that religious, but they are praying at the end of it, so they've already set that up for her. So no, she didn't have chance to get Flanderized. No,
but she essentially became the only thing that people would know her for, other than her T-shirt related death, spoiler alert, is her protesting and her churchiness. Maybe she's just a one-dimensional character that didn't live long enough to get Flanderized, but who knows? So they're chasing after them, and Todd or Rod, one of them shouts, "Dad, the heathens are getting away!" And so it turns into a car chase, and the funky music comes on, and Homer goes under the train, and the Flanders somehow manage to jump through the carriage of the train, through the open doors of the freight train onto the other side. And I remember this tickled you because you send me all of the clips from your phone, right? So I get all the background noises and reactions. It's like a laugh track. And The Simpsons doesn't have a laugh track, right? So that's good. Yeah. And what would Maude, good Lord, what would Maude have made of this? So, episode after episode, we're talking about how they're risk averse and don't like to gamble. And it's hard to say this isn't a gamble with their lives to just get Homer to go back to church and save a soul, but to actually drive your car that recklessly with your entire family in it. What's Maude thinking?
Yeah, again, we're going to have to, because she doesn't speak, so you don't hear her shouting, like, what the hell are you doing? Or anything like that. So she's in on it. She's part of it. And again, I think it comes back to her lust for death, or just sort of some kind of, this is how she lives. In these moments, this is how she truly lives. And the same with Ned. You see Ned go through phases of, like Vegas. Like he'll go from being buckled down to doing like the crazy, because let's not forget that he does marry another woman whilst he's married to Maude. But she dies before she finds out. Rod and Todd find out eventually. The wife returns, but Maude never finds out.
My goodness.
Yeah, when they jump through the train, he could have killed his entire family. That's what made me laugh. Because
we've got the depth, right? We've got the depth of the context. To the average watcher, it's just Flanders doing a funny jump, but to us, it's Maude. Our whole reason for watching this show, right there in the very hands of Flanders, living on the ledge beyond the edge and jumping through trains. And Maude, God bless her, rather than losing her shit at Ned and forcing him to stop the car and saying, enough of this madness, she's just gunning for it. Go get him. Now I know, they're evangelical and they want to save that soul, but at what cost, Nathan? At what cost?
And it's leading me to think that maybe she saw those t-shirts coming. Maybe she walked into them and thought, I can handle this. And she couldn't.
I think so. It's like Phil Anselmo from Pantera when he decided that he could handle hard drugs. And then he realized he couldn't. And he said, after that, all I did is I just had a bottle of whiskey and went to bed. Maybe she is like the lead singer of Pantera in this respect. And she thinks she can handle anything the world's got to throw at her. But she wasn't as lucky as Phil. Phil came back from his brush with death. Not like Dimebag Darrell, but Phil came back from his brush with death. Maude, however, did not. She fell that 20 meters or so, and her back and neck and skull were all crushed. We're all crushed and broken at the bottom of that cartoon stadium. However, moving on, let's not dwell on those dark times that are to come. So they chase him, and they eventually, they track him down, and then Homer jumps off and ends up in a garbage thing. But we don't care because Maude's not in that bit. We could imagine what she's doing in the car, but we also know she's alive with glee. This repression. It's repression, isn't it? She's repressed that inner feeling through her religion. It doesn't mean her religiosity is not real. It just means that she's repressed that wild side of herself so much that it's only through allowing her husband to risk her children's lives that she can feel that spark. My goodness, it's quite a roller coaster ride considering she's just a minor character. I mean, she's definitely been in more life-threatening scrapes in the last season than I've been in my whole live-long life.
Yeah, and she's always, again, there's a relationship with death and Maude from sort of very early on. Maybe this is our first example of that. But there was a few times where it came, she was close already, and she survived, which led her to this false sense of confidence that she would be fine when she saw the t-shirts come in, and she thought, I'll be okay.
Now, you can't see this, listeners, but I'm shaking my head, not in disagreement with Nathan, but in disbelief at how Maude lived her life. Because, I tell you what, you can only laugh in the face of death so many times before death laughs back. Clip 5. I thought this was a different episode because Flanders wins second prize in some kind of blimp raffle.
Oh no, this is a different episode.
Oh, this is a completely different episode. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how that's got in there. I didn't send you that today, did I?
Yes.
They ignore that next. So I thought there were only 5 clips.
Okay, so we haven't missed one. All right. So I'll say that for next week. This is going in the blooper reel. This is going right to the blooper reel. I'll probably just leave it.
Yes.
Probably just leave it, to be honest. Maybe throw in another theme tune over the top of it.
Oh, we're always getting things wrong and messing up, etc., etc.
There we go. We just saved that segment, didn't we?
Exactly.
All right. Clip 6.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the carrot curtains. So they're stood in front of a bunch of carrot curtains that are all charred and have clearly been set on fire. Homer says, I'll be there in the front row center. So I'm reading into this that Homer's, been persuaded by whatever reason. It's unimportant. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter that Ned, as you suggested, may have saved his life. But it's irrelevant because we're only interested in Maude. So Homer goes back to church. And of course, Homer Simpson, he's just fast asleep in the church, which I imagine is how the episode started. We see Maude sat right next to him with a icy, stone-cold look on her face. She is no fan of Homer J. Let's put it that way.
No, he's basically fallen asleep on her as well.
Not
Again,
quite.
Almost,
Almost.
That was why I thought they chose to have it as Maude rather than Ned or somebody, because of just this frayed relationship between the two, and it would be just another page in the diary for her if he fell asleep on her at church.
Which character would accept this without making some kind of reaction? If you'd had Mo or a groundskeeper Willie, you can imagine they would have attacked Homer. But we don't want that. Yeah. We just want somebody who's going to put up with it and be like, moo. And Ned probably would have, but maybe Maude's a better choice. But that look on her face is stone cold, Nathan. You would not want to be on the receiving end of that look. Homer Simpson couldn't care less, as we know. He has no regard whatsoever for Maude Flanders unless she's got her busty boobs showing, in which case he's going to slabber and blubber all over her like the dog he is. Yes.
There's only the one thing that I have to say about this clip that doesn't involve Maude, but this is sort of a well-known, it's a big plot hole. Basically, Homer continues to miss church. The house sets on fire. And Ned arrives and saves him, and everything's fine. But it's never explained why Ned was not at church, why Ned was around to save Homer when Homer was specifically missing church at that time. So Ned was also missing church.
Now, there's clearly a gag there. There's clearly a gag where his goodness sense goes off or something. They missed a trick there, but it's a major gaping plot hole. However, as you say, not Maude related and therefore not our business, not our problem. Simpsons writers, though, come on. Because you know what? There was a major flaw that I'm going to bring up in a moment in a segment called A Week Too Late. But let's wrap this up first. So that's the end of the episode, except for we see a brief glimpse of Homer having a dream where he sees an angel fly. I thought maybe it's foreshadowing, maybe it was Maude. It's not. It's just a faceless angel. That could be from the dream that we talked about last week, but probably not. There's the episode, Homer the Heretic. What are we taking away from that?
Yeah, she's not sort of got a lot to do, but she's around. This is the point of the whole thing, to find out what she was doing in day-to-day life. And
by day-to-day life, do you mean harassing a man and almost causing her entire family to die? It's not really a regular day at the beach, is it?
No, but in terms of Maude appearances, it's pretty, this was a pretty low episode in terms of content, but she still almost died.
High drama. She sang. Oh, did she? Is that an admission?
No, she didn't actually sing.
Backtrack.
There will be no admissions.
I like it. Okay, so we're moving on. That episode's done. It was a good one. Maude, for her few appearances, still kept us on the very edge of our seats. I want to go into a week too late. Revelation. Ned Flanders, when he was writing that list of potential bad influences, what did you see, Nathan? You sent me this clip midweek, in the middle of the night. Oh my God, you said.
Yeah. It's he's using his right hand to cross the things off the list, which it just feels lazy to me.
No, it's not, Nathan. And you know what? I've got a theory. So we know Neddy was raised very loosely by these parents, but at some point Neddy probably went to a pretty strict college or university. And it may have been there that they forced him to write with his right hand. Now in Japanese schools to this very day, a child who enters wanting to favor their left hand will be taught to write with their right hand. This is how it happened in British school as well, as far as I know, but it's very, very difficult. Japanese kanji has a specific order of strokes and a specific direction of strokes. It's very hard to do, much harder than the Roman alphabet, if you're not doing it with your right hand. It was essentially designed to be written with the right hand. I just wonder if Ned had been to some very strict school or college that had actually, kind of got that left-handedness out of him and made him write with his right hand.
Yeah, I think it's likely that Ned went to some kind of Japanese kanji pharmaceutical college.
Well, I do have a theory on the college he may have gone to, an evangelical college, but I ain't going to bring it up just yet, because what I'd like to do, we've only got a few minutes left of our designated time, and last week we focused on Maude art, and it was wonderful. We looked at some of your drawings from Face Forward Simpsons, but of course we had to cut spectral speculations in the same way that unfortunately it doesn't seem like we're going to get to take a visit to the Maude Flanders Internet Museum database fish stockery and insect shop this week, but I do want to do a spectral speculations if you've got it in you.
Yes.
Have you got it in you?
Always.
Alrighty. So I'm going to give you two choices. You either can talk about a religious landmark in Maude's life, whether that's baptism, whether that's a first communion, or you can talk about when Maude left home, when she moved out of the Goodman's house for the very first time. Which one of those do you want to tackle?
The second one.
She's leaving home. You want to talk about that? Give us some context, times, dates, feelings, thoughts, emotions, roller coaster. Paint us a picture, Nathan.
I think she only left when she married Ned. I think she stayed at home. Because again, we're not sure how old she was when she married Ned, but I'm now going to say that she was like 19. I think, because, religious people tend to marry quite early on, quite young. Ned's like 35 at this point or whatever. But Maude is 19. The Goodmans, we don't know who her father is yet. We haven't discussed that.
Well, let's discuss it
Goodman,
now. What's her father's name at the very least?
Francis
Goodman. I like it.
Francis Goodman.
Biblical.
He doesn't like Ned. Yeah. He thinks Ned's too old. He thinks he's a slimeball. But Marilyn Goodman sees the good in him. And Marilyn is the one who helps Maude make the decision to leave home.
Ooh. Does Marilyn... Does Maude have to sneak out under cover of darkness, or do they manage to win Francis over before Ned leaves with her? Yeah.
No, it's all done very above board. There's no sneaking out, but Frank is unhappy. That's Marilyn's issue, though. That's what Marilyn's there to talk to him. But Maude, this sealed a fragmented relationship between Maude and father for years to come. That's why he didn't attend a funeral.
Oh my goodness. But Mum attended the funeral, we're thinking.
No, she's already dead.
Oh, Mother's already passed away. We established that?
Yeah, No, but they can't have both just missed the funeral. No, Marilyn and Maude retained their relationship, but Francis wasn't interested, especially after the passing of Marilyn.
Some point between season 8, when your favourite line that references Maude's mother, and season 13? 11?
No.
11. Season 11.
11.
We also lose Maude's mother. No mention whatsoever in the show, though. So it seems like the Goodman family don't have a particularly strong relationship, seeing as they keep dying and nobody seems to mention it or turn up to each other's funeral. Or maybe it's all happening off camera and we'll learn about it more in her diary. I think you've painted a very strong picture of Fargo there and that familial struggle. And I'd like to come back to that a little bit more if I could. But I'm going to give you 30 seconds to wrap it up.
Oh,
or longer, or an hour.
Okay. Yeah, she leaves with Ned when she's 19, and it changes her family dynamics. I'd say they move straight into that house. I think they were there before. They were definitely there before Homer and Marge were there, because they welcome Homer and Marge to when Bart's a baby, which I've just realised as well it's Ned, Maude, and Todd, but Rod is not there.
The plot thickens.
Yeah, Rod must be the young one. Rod must be Lisa's age, even though he turns 10.
It's a quagmire. It's a quagmire, isn't it?
Yes. So yeah, I think that's the story of her leaving home. It was she felt good about it. It was time to go.
Okay.
But her father saw this dark side that Ned would bring out of her.
Were there some harsh words passed between them at times, were there?
No, he was
but he felt something.
Stoic.
He felt something deep bubbling under in Maude. Not so good, man.
Yeah.
All right. I just have one question on that. I kind of assumed that those houses were quite new when the Flanders. So did the Flanders move into their house when it was newly built, or had people lived in those houses before the Flanders and the Simpsons?
People definitely lived there before the Simpson family, but I don't know about the Flanders family. I would like to think that yes, that isn't their original house, that they bought it from somebody. I'm going to say Jasper.
Oh, any proof of that, or you just feel like you want that to be true?
No proof.
No proof.
He used to be there's a deleted scene in which Reverend Lovejoy arrives to town to become the new Reverend, and he takes over from Jasper,
Really?
which was never addressed again. So Jasper was the old Reverend. So maybe, yeah, just keeping to the religious theme, he saw a young couple fresh on the Christianity journey, and he helped them out and gave them his house, sold them his house, and moved to the retirement home.
Nice. Cheap dollar, probably, because he wanted to do a good thing. Well, we've reached the end of our allotted time, Nathan. We may have even gone over, once again, 60 fun-filled minutes of Maude goodness. Who thought such a thing was possible? You know what? It fills my heart with joy. Every episode is joy-filled. Shall we finish up with a song?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Who's going first?
I'll go first.
Oh, yeah! The tables have turned. The coin has been flipped.
Francis Goodman.
In a freezer.
Church missing fires.
Doors frozen shut.
Big eyelashes.
With Willie with his blowtorch.
Train jumps.
Train jumping. Ooh, nice hat. Ooh, coming through.
Regarding your children's lives.
We're going for a danger ride.
Go tell it on the mountain.
Maude singing, or is she not singing? Is she going through a moment of doubt regarding her vocal talents?
Lip sync assassin.
Yeah. Ooh, get those animals on the okay.
Church sleep.
Carrot curtains.
Charred.
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 Charred. The end. We did it. We did it. We did it. Seventh time lucky. We did it. So there you go. It's done.
Good job. Yeah. Good job. Good work.